Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News. Everything is connected. And we are talking about climate change news of the day. What's going on? Lots of chatters on the YouTubes. Thank you guys for being early. Even though I'm late, I was late to being early. Visor Wingnut. Who? I don't know if it's somebody who changed their name or somebody new, but I like that. Visor Wingnut. How you doing? Poppy Davis, Rich Diana, Nazbanabs, Max Sarjay. Kevin Chanholzer on YouTube on Rockfin. We've got Cornholio, Poppy Davis, Kevin Shanholzer saying hi in the chats. Please come hang out with me on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com, where all the cool kids are at. Not to say that you're not cool on YouTube, but I think the Rockfinners are a little bit cooler. I actually have been spending a lot more time on Rockfin myself because of the YouTube shenanigans. A lot of my favorite channels aren't broadcasting as much these days. So like my news feed is a little slow. So I have to go to Rockfin and kind of find all the people that I usually listen to. Yes, many layers, Rich China. It's not nearly as cold as it is elsewhere, but it's gotten a little bit chillier today. Oh, thank you, Jay Brandt. I appreciate that. Don't Texas me, bro. Exactly. That's going on. A lot of, crap. God, I hate when this happens. Man, I hate when that happens. Can I get my tweet back? Thank you. Can I get my tweet back? Kind of a mess going on in Texas. And elsewhere, I'm sure, but that just seems to be where most of the attention is right now. Let's get this on. Let's get it on. As Marvin Gaye said so succinctly, let's get it on. It's 6 degrees. People have no electricity or water. This is Brandon Friedman retweeting Ryan Grimm, who says, yeah, not to rain on the Texas mocking parade. But if the weather shifts radically to something a region isn't built for, it's inherently dangerous. So Ryan Grimm is really talking about climate change. Ryan Grimm is really describing what climate change and climate chaos, weather whiplash or weather weirding, he's describing an effect of climate change. But he doesn't actually say climate change, which is frustrating. Frustrating that Ryan Grimm doesn't say this is your world on climate change. But anyways, he makes a good point. If the weather shifts radically to something a region isn't built for, it's inherently dangerous. Like when a massive, unexpected heat wave hits a city without air conditioning, like Paris, people die. So Brandon Friedman retweets it, says it's 6 degrees. People have no electricity or water. Unlike northern cities, Texas doesn't have many snowplows, so the roads aren't clear. That means people are trapped in their homes and can't go somewhere warm. This is a major emergency. And on top of the emergency, the winter storm causes power outages in Texas and prompts advisories across the U.S. I don't know. I know there are a few Texans watching this show. I hope everybody has power. But yeah, people are losing. They're shutting off power. Here's power outage tracker. 2.5 million customers without power across Texas this morning. Holy crap! So if I mean, I guess you got to turn your gas stove on, hopefully, and hopefully that works. But if you're without power or a way to heat your home, um, that's bad news in 6-degree weather. 2.5 million people without power. For context, historic Hurricane Harvey resulted in 393 outages. So the extreme cold causing a much more life-threatening situation than, the hurricane scenario in Texas. Why? Because they're not built for it. Somebody says, replying, we've been out of power since 3 in the morning. Half of our city doesn't have power. Me and my family have resorted to sleeping together in the living room to conserve heat. So yeah, if you don't have a fireplace or some wood or a gas stove and you don't have power, bad news. Bad news. I don't know how people in Texas watching the show, how y'all doing? Windmills froze. Rolling blackouts in San Antonio. I saw y'all got some snow too, right? I have friends in San Antonio who were posting up on Instagram today. It's a pretty good amount of snow. 10 blankets last night. No, okay, just kidding. Keith Hayes, if anyone here says they don't have power, they are lying. Okay, I don't know. Doing fine, just not going anywhere. Okay. It's good. Thanks, Michael Lee. Appreciate that. Anyways, yeah, so that's not a good situation. If you don't have power and you don't have heat and people aren't really used to the situation, not so good. The other thing about Texas is they don't really have, the public transportation system. Like in colder cities, you can still get on a subway when it's cold. Or northern cities, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., you can still get on a subway when it's cold and kind of get around. But the public transportation in Texas, I can tell you, is non-existent. And if it's just buses, they're probably not running, I'm sure. Raza is asking, did you guys upset the polar vortex? Maybe you should think about apologize. New CB Unglesby, new storm tonight and tomorrow. Lots more ice, little snow, just off grid for a week. Okay, but you're doing okay off grid. You're in like Virginia, right, CB Unglesby? Frozen water lines and cars, yeah. So yeah, really hitting a lot of the country. More. It's the focus is on Texas right now, but a lot of people are getting. A lot of people are getting it. Like, look, we have power outages, many power outages. Oregon, Virginia, Louisiana, North Carolina. To not name all of them, so I'm seeing. What is this? No, this is Arkansas. What is this state I'm looking at? Oh, that's Arkansas, right? Um, yeah, Arkansas up to Texas. Sorry, just couldn't really like. I was having a hard time with geography there for a second. Um, West Virginia, Virginia, Louisiana, Kentucky. Yeah, non good, non good. And so all of those, I mean, all of these states are being affected, right? I mean, everybody here is feeling an Arctic blast. Oh, are you guys seeing that? Maybe you're not seeing that. Sorry. Everybody here is seeing here an Arctic blast. Over here, all over here. But yeah, lots of states experiencing power outages and some severe cold. Uh, let's see. What's up, Rockfinners? Let's get some more people on Rockfin. We got 5 watching. Kevin Chanholzer says, I was told it was because of the grand solar minimum. Really? That's funny. Yeah, of course. You know, there's going to be people like, where's the global warming? I don't see this global warming stuff. It's a lot of snow. Yeah. Anyways. Basil Peterson says normal winter for Finger Lakes, New York. Well, that's good. Normalcy is good, right? Bobby Davis, I saw that. I saw that. Lots of snow in Houston. Nothing is moving for 24 hours. Yeah, I mean, snow in Houston is like snow in Los Angeles, which is pretty much unheard of. And if we ever get snow here, I mean, it's, we might get a dusting, literally a dusting, and it'll melt in minutes. But when I saw pictures of people in San Antonio with, a couple inches of snow on the ground, I was like, yeah, that's a lot of snow. That's cold. Jinpai Gamma says, I can see the highway and it's okay, but I can't get out of my yard. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to some other things today. This is not good. Mexico was once a climate leader. Now it's getting big on coal. That old lefty progressive AMLO liking him some coal. As the climate crisis worsens, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador plans to buy nearly 2 million tons of thermal coal from small producers. I mean, that's what, peak oil and climate crisis and overshoot of industrial civilization, it makes it really hard to stay committed to going clean and green, because you just need that energy source to power all the things and have all the things and the money and the things and feed the people. And so, it makes it really hard to get off that black gold. The men on the midnight shift smoke cigarettes and crack jokes in the glow of their helmet lights as they prepare to go underground. We are reactivating the industry, said Arturo Rivera Wong, who had just taken on 40 more workers at the mine he owns in the scrublands of the border state of Coahuila. Uh, 4 furnaces at the big thermoelectric plant are going to be reactivated, he explained. This is going to kickstart coal sales. As the climate crisis worsens and clean energy prices plunge, governments around the world have been weaning their economies of coal and other fossil fuels. I think they meant off, but anyways, of works too. Mexico is moving in the opposite direction. President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, formerly known, the artist formerly known as AMLO, has unveiled plans to buy nearly 2 million tons of thermal coal from small producers like Rivera. He plans to reactivate a pair of coal-fired plants on the Texas border, which were being wound down as natural gas and renewables took a more prominent role in Mexico's energy mix. Not only is Lopez Obrador betting big on fossil fuels, he is curtailing clean energy. What the hey? Why, AMLO? Why? ¿Por qué, AMLO? The populist president has promoted a vision of energy sovereignty. There you go. So that's why. We want to be energy independent. I mean, look, in the realm of nationalism or populism or just doing right by your people, it's hard to get away. It's hard to get away from industrial civilization. It's hard to get away from fossil fuels. And if you're going to, be more naturally resilient or independently resilient from the rest of the world, then you're going to have to be energy independent. And that usually means coal, oil, gas, fracking, whatever you can get your hands on. The populist president has promoted a vision of energy sovereignty in which state-run bodies, the oil company Pemex and the Federal Electricity Commission, pump petroleum and generate electricity. Private players, which have heavily invested in clean energy, are relegated to a secondary role in Lopez Obrador's vision, while emissions and climate commitments are an afterthought. Why? I thought you were a progressive and a lefty and a progressive and a socialist. Instead of thinking of a transition from coal and fossil fuels, he's thinking of using more coal and petroleum, said Adrian Fernandez Bremonts, director of Iniciativa Climática de Mexico, an environmental organization. No other G20 country has such abnormal or retrograde energy policies as this government. It's not going to advance us towards our climate goals. AMLO's policies stand in stark contrast to those of the Biden administration. I don't know. Yeah, maybe maybe they'll be named renegades or I forgot what the term was, but climate criminals by the Biden administration. We can go after Mexico. The Biden administration has declared the climate crisis an existential threat. Lopez Obrador has said his government will refurbish the CFEs, hydroelectric installations, which would allow Mexico to meet its climate commitments of generating 35% of its electricity via renewables. Okay. But to make its case for prioritizing fossil fuels and reestablishing a state-run electricity industry, the Mexican government has repeatedly cast doubt on the dependability of renewables. Oh, you mean they realize that they can't actually power everything with renewables? Arguing that solar and wind energy are unreliable and claiming that they had been given preference over CFE hydroelectric projects. And despite increasingly powerful hurricanes, droughts, and other extreme weather which have afflicted the region, it has stayed silent on the climate crisis. Interesting. In the past, Mexico was a climate leader. The Paris Agreement has zero relevance to anything they're talking about in the electric sector right now, said Jeremy Martson, Vice President for Energy and Sustainability at the Institute of the Americas. Lopez Obrador's outlook on fossil fuels and state-run companies stems from his upbringing in the oil-rich state of Tabasco at a time when Pemex was seen as the vehicle for national development. Private companies and foreigners had been excluded from the energy sector since a 1938 expropriation. An opening of the industry in 2013 encouraged a spate of new investment, much of it in renewables. Mexico also introduced clean energy auctions, which set record prices for how low developers were bidding to put renewables into the mix. Those auctions stopped after Lopez Obrador took power in December 2018. Wow, weird. He has also showed a marked enthusiasm for coal, which produces roughly 9.5% of Mexico's electricity. George Baker, a veteran Pemex analyst, compared AMLO's rhetoric on energy to Donald Trump's fixation with restoring the U.S. coal industry. It's kind of a feel-good statement on the level of Make America Great Again. Interesting. Well, whatever the reason, the reality is that almost any country that is part of the greater, international capitalist global paradigm, which is every country, and is involved in growing their economy and, involved in growth capitalism, basically growth capitalism, growing their economy, up, and away. We need, bigger, better, faster, and more. You're not going to be able to do that on purely renewables. It's just not really. Gene, why did Mexico change their long-range plans? Basically, AMLO was raised in an oil-rich state, and he thinks, they want energy independence, basically, Gene, which isn't any different from Obama. And Trump carried that. Obama was like, U.S. is going to be energy independent, and that includes a mix of fracking and pipelines and oil drilling in the Arctic and the Gulf, right? So Obama did that. Energy independence, right? Supposedly lefty. And, Trump, carried that forward in kind of a over-the-top way. Oh, thanks, Lance Rebo. Thank you. Yeah. Well, the thing is that, even if you make commitments to renewable energy, which is all fine and well, lots of countries are doing that. The reality of running your economy without fossil fuels is that, you're not going to run your economy without fossil fuels. It's just not going to happen, right? Even America, if you're going to, the reality is like, even if you're going to build, all new electric cars, all the cars we're going to build are all electric, right? There's a lot of fossil fuels involved in building those electric cars. Everything is, growing food is fossil fuels, so, yeah. Right. So there's a lot of fossil fuels involved that, people aren't really told about. People don't really grasp the extent to which we rely on fossil fuels for almost everything. So when you really talk about, cutting emissions or getting off fossil fuels. It's not just, not driving a car that burns fossil. Like people think it ends there, Well, I have an electric heater, or I have an electric leaf blower, or I have an electric car, whatever, that all that is really great. But what are you powering that with? Where's the electricity come from? How was it made? It was certainly made with fossil fuels. That battery powered or electric, whatever gizmo gadget thing that you're using, it took fossil fuels to make it and ship all the materials to the place where they made it, right? There were a lot of fossil fuels involved. So, people just don't really go that far down the rabbit hole. Raza says Obama was funny. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true too, Valhalla. Bush was a comedian. I mean, Trump was a dead funny comedian. I mean, if you couldn't laugh at half the things that Trump said, Anyways, Basil Peterson, I have an electric chainsaw. Well, I mean, look, people have what they have. I have a car. I have a hybrid car. I have, all kinds of electric, musical equipment. I have a computer. I have, I mean, people have what they have. I'm just saying, if you have, if you're using something that's electric, that's great. You're not burning fossil fuels to use that thing. That's awesome. But fossil fuels were involved in the making of that thing that doesn't burn fossil fuels. Quite a few fossil fuels were used in that. So, got to think about that. Okay, guys. Well, let's get into the story about plastic. Yeah. It's from February 10th, 2021. Plastic ingestion by fish, a growing problem. And then when you eat fish that have ingested plastic, then you're ingesting plastic. Uh-oh. The consumption of plastic by marine animals is an increasingly pervasive problem, with litter turning up in the bellies of wildlife as varied as mammals, birds, turtles, and fish. I read basically the same version of this article once a month or once every 2 months or all the time. But, here it is again, another study, another news article about basically, the same problem that isn't necessarily going away or getting much better. However, according to a research review by ecologists at Stanford University's Hopkins Marine Station and PhD student Alex McInturf at UC Davis, the problem is impacting species unevenly, with some more susceptible to eating a plastic dinner than others. With billions of people around the world relying on seafood for sustenance and financial security, this research, published February 9th in the journal Global Change Biology, warns that there is a growing number of species, including over 200 species of commercial importance, eating plastic. Matthew Savoca was collecting data on plastic ingestion by seabirds for his PhD when he became interested in uncovering ecological traits linked to increased consumption. Now, as a postdoctoral research fellow at the Hopkins Marine Station, he has conducted one of the most comprehensive analysis of plastic ingestion on fish ever performed. Fish are a really good species to track the flow of plastic pollution through marine ecosystems, says Savoca, who's lead author of the paper. Now we are showing the numbers in ways they haven't been shown before. No previous studies have looked across all this research for broad patterns and drivers. Savoca and his team collected all the data they could find from scientific literature related to plastic ingestion by fish. In total, they reviewed 129 studies on 171,774 individuals of 555 species of marine fish. When he first began this endeavor roughly a decade ago, he was surprised how little data was available. However, over the last few years, Savoca said the number of studies has gone through the roof. The team's database reveals the consumption of plastic by fish is widespread and increasing. Over the last decade, the rate of plastic consumption has doubled. One decade doubled. Increasing by 2.4% every year. Sounds about in line with CO2 increase, right? Or parts per million. Part of this is due to scientists' increasing ability to detect smaller particles of plastic than before. However, even when researchers statistically controlled for improvements in methodology, they still found an overall increase in plastic consumption. Maybe because there's more plastic. Even more disconcerting, many new species of fish were discovered with plastic inside of them each year. The 210 species of fish that are caught commercially have been found to eat plastic. 210 species of fish that are caught commercially have been found to eat plastic, and this number is likely an underestimate, the researchers said. Oh, dear Lord. Well, that's depressing. While the database revealed that over 2/3 of the fish species studied had consumed plastic, there were still 148 species with no record of plastic consumption. With the data compiled, the researchers uncovered trends that help explain why certain species of fish are more vulnerable to plastic ingestion than others. Fish in heavily polluted East Asian waters, for example, showed the highest levels of plastic ingestion. I wonder why. We think there might be a correlation. This is especially concerning because seafood from this region helps feed 2 billion people. 2 billion people eating plastic particles. That's got to be good for your physiology. It's got to be good for, keeping yourself healthy and keeping your immune system healthy from fighting off bacteria and diseases. Eating a little plastic every day. You know what I'm saying? Eat a couple of milligram pellets of plastic a day. Keeps them bones strong. The researchers also found that the foraging strategy of fish was related to plastic ingestion. That fish higher up on the food chain were the greatest risk. Predatory fish were the most likely to consume plastic. Oh boy. Well, that's depressing. Just when you thought it was getting worse, it gets worse. Poppy Davis, our green energy windmills are frozen in Texas, leading to rolling blackouts across the state. Wow. And then there's that, right? If it's really cold and snowing and or overcast, you're not going to get any green energy from windmills and or solar panels. So then there's that. Unfortunately. Lance Rebo says civilizational collapse will 100% happen by 2030, either from crop losses or peak oil or combination of a whole bunch of things. Yeah. Ecocentric homestead, most likely to consume, or bioaccumulation? Good question. Gene says if you come to Costa Rica and it says sea bass on the menu, it is a lie. There are no sea bass left. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Not a good sign. Poppy Davis says humans will become plastic attached to AI. Exploring the exciting new world of plastics. Yeah, Kevin Shanholzer, indeed. I agree. It is depressing. Well, guys, that's all I have for you today. We had a couple more people coming in on the Rockfin live stream, I think because people were expecting an 11 o'clock start, and I surprised everybody today with a 10 o'clock start. I apologize for that. But be of good cheer, because I'm going to do a quick neorealism broadcast on Rockfin exclusively in about 15 minutes. Exclusively on Rockfin in about 15 minutes. Guys, please like and share this video. Please subscribe, because YouTube takes away subscribers every day and they suppress my views. I totally appreciate and survive on the monetary support that people give me on this channel, but I also need algorithmic support. So please like, share, subscribe. And thank you. And thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Until next time, peace.